let's go. Yeah. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go! Let's go! Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Hello, it's another Sunday. It's time to demystify some technology. Welcome to another episode of Demystifying Tech with Sam. It's been an amazing weekend. Yesterday I spoke at the just ended Microsoft 365 Developer Bootcamp. Awesome, awesome. I spoke about actionable messages. Um, Tomorrow or this coming week is the MCT Tech Africa Tech Summit. I will be there in Nigeria, Abuja. Because of that, I might not be able to stream IoT Tuesday on Tuesday. It might come as a blog post or as a pre-recorded show, so please bear with me. Then Friday same might also come as a pre-recorded or blog post. So bear with me for that because I'll be out of town. I can guarantee internet access or availability of high-speed internet where I would be to stream live. So just bear with me. In today's episode, we will be continuing with our Omnipost application. When we come back, we'll dive into the other modules we will be using for this application. Awesome, we're back. Pardon me, I can see that I'm dropping a few frames. So I'm just checking that out. If it continues for a while and still dropping frames, I would probably stop the stream and try to restart it just to avoid dropping frames. But in the absence of that, if it stays stable, I will continue the stream because dropping frames doesn't give a good experience. So if you're joining us in subsequent episode on the show, we created an Azure DevOps project for the Omnipost application. We're trying to use this particular series to build an Omnipost application where we could actually tweet or post messages on all our social media handles. So we're going to have a LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, I think Instagram, and we'll just try to use the popular, the popular social media channels. It's just an app that I've realized that sometimes I need to post stuff on multiple channels, but then I have to manually, do that. So I'm sure there are apps out there, but it's just so that we can see how to use a lot of the Microsoft Azure services to create an application, host it, then use the various services to create the similar, user experience. So that's why we're choosing to do this. 26% of my frames are being dropped, so let's see if I can monitor this and figure out if it's a smooth stream. If it's not, I will just go ahead and stop the stream. Bear with me. If you're joining us, welcome. So this is where you see me do live coding. Nothing rehearsed, nothing practice, just me doing live coding, trying to build something, and you can ask me questions on what I'm doing. You can, um, just, join me code. Technically, that's what we're doing. So let's see. here I'm trying to check out my stream just to make sure that we're doing good. If the rate of the frame drops is too high, we might just have to cancel that. Let's see if it's going to. I I I well, it's 31%. That's like 3,745 frames drop. It Let's see where this um welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome. Joining us on Twitch. Thank you. Uh how do we do this? Okay, let me check from Twitch. That's me. So, um I still see that the frames are still dropping. So, well, hopefully it's not that bad. Even though I see the frames dropping, I guess we can just proceed with this. All right. So, I'm just trying to monitor it on Twitch. It's streaming fine, even though I'm dropping frames. It's not that significant that it causes an unpleasant experience. So I would keep on doing it, and then if it becomes just too unbearable, I'll just stop the stream and we do something else. So let's just get right into it. So for the past few weeks we've been setting up the project, we've been setting up the modules. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's open this up. Um, I always like to use my Lambda. Yep. I kind of like it's I don't know, but it's like an OCD, so repo Omnipost. I don't know, but it just feels like an OCD where I'm just kind of like just reopening stuff couple of a lot of times. So um let me just go to a package of JSON and let me bring this up a bit so we can see this. So last week I actually added, I show the node package node mon faker, and then I believe it was .env. Yes, so .env faker and node mon, and I explained that we use node mon for the automatic watching and refreshing or restarting of the server when you're developing. Sometimes when you're developing, you want the ability to just see the changes you've made, and node mon is able to do that for us. We also talked about using Faker, and we said that sometimes you want to generate some, you want to just mock up some, random stuff, or you want to mock up some, how do you call it, some just fake data so you can test your endpoint or APIs, and Faker can do that. And then we saw .env, which we actually used to read from our environmental variables. We had this created, and then we actually called it in the application right here. So I made mention that last week that though we've added all these things, we also looked at the folder structure for the application last week. So we talked about the controllers. We said that where I mentioned that that is where the definition of the routes are going to be. I started with the routes. I said this is where all the routes to the various sections of the application will exist. So for instance, app dot here we are saying that if you want to access the user's route will be defined here in the routes folder. So everything route to be defined here. And then we said the definition of the route itself, where the logic is going to exist, that's going to be in the controllers right here. And then I also mentioned that I explained what middlewares were. I mentioned that a middleware is just an injection into the life cycle of the application, especially when you're using Express. So I gave an example of how middlewares operate. I mentioned that if you want certain actions to happen anytime a route is being you're traveling or you're redirecting to a route, you can inject middlewares to do stuff, add stuff to the request, modify the request and all that. You can do that with middleware. So any custom middleware that we create is going to exist in the middlewares folder. That is what we mentioned. And then also, I said that the public is where you can save all your CSS and all that font, image, JavaScript, custom scripts that you want to use. And then services, I made mention that, for instance, because we'll be interacting with Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those other third-party services, the implementation for those services, we're going to keep them in the services folder, and then we're going to call or invoke them from where they are. And then test, we mentioned that. So this is where we're going to put all our tests, functional tests, unit tests. That is how we'll do that. Now, ideally, before you start the development, you want to write some tests. If you are going with the test-driven development approach, that is what you want to do. But today, I'm also going to introduce you to a few more modules that we'll be using. For now, I'll just be introducing the modules, and then once we get there, we're going to move on to actually extracting all this information from here into their respective folder, so that we kind of like we carve a path, or we have a pathing that we're going to use when we're building the application. So let's see, let me bring this here and see. Let's do this, and then let's do. And feel free to ask me any questions if you have any specific questions or anything you want to. Just send that to me, and I would respond accordingly. Um, don't be shy. Don't be shy. So today I would also introduce, let's say, two more two more packages, and then we will take it from there. So today the packages I want to talk about is because our application is going to actually use, how do we call it? It's going to use authentication. We're going to use Passport, but for now I will not bring Passport in, but I'm going to show you two packages we'll use. All right, we've not got to the point where we're connecting database and doing all that yet, so it's just step by step. So the 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 other one I want to introduce is Axios. All right, so let me open this. Let me bring this here. So let's do Axios npm. Now, if you've watched my Functions Friday show, you realize that we've used Axios before. It's just a simple HTTP client, promise-based HTTP client for, making requests. So we're going to install this. Just do this here. So let's open our app. Let's install Axios because we're going to use it because we're building. Well, what happened? It says that no search files. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yep. So that's the reason. That's strange. Why didn't he open it up? Yeah, this is where I needed it. Yeah, let's install this. And we have Axios. So now that we have that set, let's go check out um, the other very simple. We're going to need another module. Where is our? We're going to need. Let's search for it here. Body parser. All right. Now, so you would ask that what is body parser? Now, body parser is just a middleware. I made mention of middleware. Now, body parser is a middleware that actually passes all your incoming requests, right? Before you handle anything in there. What it does is that it's able to help you extract let's say parameters passed through the body or that's coming from a request. All right, it's able to JSONify it if we want us to put it that way. So it's able to actually extract that and make it available in your request.body property. So we can do request.body and then extract any parameter or variables that were passed through the body of the request that is coming. So um, that's like I say, that's just how it works. So let's go ahead and install that body passer because we'll be passing some information, so we need that. So let's just go install this, and that will just be all um, the modules we'll talk about today in this episode. Now we're going to just go ahead and see how we can start structuring our application, right? Okay, so with that said, let's just go ahead and do what I want. Oh, let me actually let me add one more because we'll be dealing with date and time. Let's use moment. Yeah, that'll be it. So three modules, and then we can move on to actually creating and building stuff, right? Let's do that. Okay, so moment is just basically it's just a lightweight framework for date manipulation, all right? Passing, creating, manipulating dates. That's all it's about. All right, and because we're doing a lot of date stuff in Omnipost, because we could create schedules, we could post them and have the date, so we need that module. So we're gonna um we're gonna put that here. Now remember that we might not need all these modules directly in the index, which is the startup entry point of the application. But I'm just adding them so they're available in the package of JSON, and then when we need them, we can add them, like within the various parts of the application. So I'm just going to close this. All right. Yeah, now that we have this is our basic app. So all we have now is just all we have now is it's just our entry point. We have our .conf here, which we need. Okay, so we need that has been set. Let's check our environmental variables. You have the port, you have the app name. What else do I need to set? Right now, because we mentioned that this is going to be the API section or the backend of the application, we don't necessarily need to create any front end. So at this point, else would have been using frameworks like EJS or PAG or something like that. But we're just going to keep it to this. So let's see. Our app has been set here. Let me just give this here. Let's put this here right here. And then save this. App has been set. We're not going to use any constants or anything. Now, I'll introduce another module which is coming from Sentry, which is like a logging and exception handling platform that's able to log everything that you need. But for now, we're just going to leave that to when we get to that point of the application, then we can actually how do you call it, introduce that. We're also going to use sessions and messaging, but when we get there, then we can start how do you call it, using that. So let's see, what do we need to do right now? We're not using anything at the moment, so we can just go ahead and then start creating our stuff. So now we mentioned that, let's say we have this user here. All right, now I want to start, I want to let us I want to have us start creating the, how do you call it, the good practice for how to separate or encapsulate um, our information, like our route and all that. I want to have them in the right format. So let's do this. Sorry about that, guys. Just trying to get some good lighting going here. Okay, let's see if that works. Yeah, that works fine. Awesome. No too much highlights or shadows on my face, but just something to make it work. Cool. Great. So currently, if we run the application, okay, let's just run the application here, CLS. If we do, I think let's look at our package.json. What's our script for dev? The script is dev, all right? So we can say npm run dev, and then it will be running our application on port 3000. So now if we go here and do localhost 3000, yep, now 7 ticket number. So the last thing we did was we said that when we create the user, when you call this endpoint, that's what you get, right? And then we created another endpoint and called it user. And what's happening is that this creates a random user for us when we call it. Okay, so that's the thing. Now we want to encapsulate. Let's come back here. Well, let me zoom this thing so you can see it. All right. So there you go. So we want to encapsulate this route, all right, into its own. Let's come back here, and I can actually stop this because we'll be making. I can keep it running, and it's not going to hurt anything. But well, let me just keep it so you can understand what's going on. All right, so we want to take out this route and put it in its own, all right, in its own route folder. Now to do this, I mentioned that the routes are going to be defined in the route folder, but the actual implementation of the route is going to happen in the controller. All right. So I'm going to go ahead into the controllers, and create a new file. We're going to call it user. This is users controller. Let's say user. Uh, let's say user controller.js. Now I go with this approach. Now some people might go with user.controller.js. That's fine. The naming convention, that's fine with whatever naming convention you choose. But I usually go with, the how do you call it? The entity and then controller, or the entity and the service, or anything in the middleware, or the entity and what route. That's how I go about it. I mean, it's a debatable thing. We can look at other practices or other standards like the Airbnb coding guide, whatever. Okay, that's fine. We're just going to keep this simple. So user controller, set this. It's just a JS file, all right? And then we're going to go here and then also in route, create another one and call it user route, all right? That I can make it small, whatever I want, but it's always JS. But it's just for me to know what this route is for and what this controller is for. Makes it easy for me to grasp. So that's why I do that. Now, so and then in the index. Now, because we want to say that anytime you go through, you want to go to this particular route and its sub route, you need to use the user's route we just created. All right. So to do that, I'm going to come here and say that my const, I'm going to call it, let's say user route. All right. Let's go with there. Yeah. So user route. All right. This is going to be equal to what we are requiring that. So let's do a require. And because I can do this, and then, so it's going to be in my route slash user route, right? That's it. So we're calling this. Is that okay? So what I can do is, let me actually bring this here, because if we're using I think the Airbnb style guide, it actually advises that you do all the requires before you do some of these stuff. So now I know I have a user route object available for me to use within the app. Then I'm going to go all the way down here. All right. So I'm going to go down, 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 down here. And now I'm not going to say get, I'm not going to just initiate this get here, all right? So I'm going to say, instead of the get, I'm now going to say that, hey, app.use, all right? anytime someone is coming to user, all right, anytime someone says user, this is what I want you to use. I want you to use the what? The user route. That's it. All right. So that's it. Now, with that said, we need to move the whole of this. Now, I realize that is returning a JSON object of user. All right. So just for the sake of this, let's move this whole user thing out here because that's what it's calling. And because we want it to be in the now, I mentioned that the actual logic is going to be in the controller, but then the route definition will be in the what route. So let's go into the controller and paste this here for the meantime. And then what's this app dot yeah, so we're going to just I'm just going to well, I don't need this anymore, so I can just get rid of this. So look at how it's making my application quite simple right now. As you can see, it's just calling this, and I can go ahead and define all the routes specific to user in this user route file. All right, already we know that if you go to user, it just generates a random user for you. Okay, so now that's what we want to do. We want to encapsulate this thing into its own route and controller so that going forward there's a pattern for us. So anything user will be here. Anything, okay. Now the user is just a demo. So which means that when I change this, we're going to refactor and now start to look at the various routes we'll need in creating the Omnipost application. All right, so let's do that. So let's go to the route. Let's go to the route. Let's see. So with the user's route here, okay. So in the user's route, um, because it is going to it's going to show us a route, we need the express router. All right. So I can say express, this should be equal to require, and because we already have express in the node modules, we are good to go. All right. And now another thing is, because the definition or the business logic for the route is going to exist in the controller, right? So we need to also make reference to that because that's how we're going to define it. So let's go ahead and do this. So const user controller is equal to require, and then we can do this. Let's go back. We know let's see. Yeah, there you go. We know we are in controllers, and then it is the user controller. Yeah. Now remember, if we needed to call something from the config file, that is the environmental variable we created here, we will need to go ahead and actually also import this. All right. But until the need happens, we can just leave it here now. We're fine. We don't need anything here. So the user's route has, let's go ahead and define the route. Now, so now I can go ahead and say const my user router, okay, is equal to express dot router, because we're creating a route, so we need to use the express router. All right, so now I have this route, the router that I can use to create the routes. All right, and now let's see this. Now this is how I like to do. I kind of like create um my function. All right, that defines the whole route, and then I can just export those and make it like, very 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 easy. So this is how I like to go about it. So I'm going ahead and I just create a function. I'll create a function called route. All right, I can give it any name, but it's just to keep it simple, so I'll just call this a route. Okay, and this function is going to have the definition, okay, it's going to have the definition of the function, all right? So I created a function, I created a route here, all right? So it's as simple as this. Go ahead and say now this user's router, the route, I'm creating a route, all right? Now, the route that I'm creating, all right, is like the initial when you call that route. This is so let's go back here. Let me explain this a lot clearer. So in the index, you realize that we said anytime someone goes slash user, use this route. All right, use this just use this route. Anytime someone is trying to go to the user's route, this is the route definition we're going to use. So the router is saying that okay, so this is how you access it. Now, don't forget that we've done it in such a way that within the user's route, all right, within the user's route, anytime you see the root, it means that this is the root of the route. So anytime someone comes to users, this will be the first route to hit. Now, this can be called by a get, a post, but ideally when you're requesting, you want to use what? A get. Is that okay? So here's the case. So anytime someone, okay, and we're only going to use a get to that. So anytime someone calls slash user from here, the main entry point of application is going to redirect you to the user route. What's the user route? It's defined in routes the user. So it's going to come here. Now, because this is the root of the user route, this is what's going to happen. So in here, I'm going to define a function. I'm going to call it get users. All right. That's just, or let's say let's do it. Let's call generate. Let's call this function generate user. Okay, that makes it a lot interesting. And that's it. So now it means that if I want to add other things to it, I can just take this out and do a dot what? Dot post, dot put, dot whatever, and call the function, sorry, and call the function I want to use. But for now, because we just only have one, I'll just leave this. Now, where is this this particular method? Where is it? Now, we've not defined it yet, but where can we find that? Now, if you remember, we mentioned that the definition or the business logic for this route is going to be stored in the what? The controller. So here we are just defining functions. It makes it easy to test. It makes it very easy to test. So we have this is supposed to be coming, all right, from our controller. So how do we do that? We have a reference to the controller. So to do this, we can now go ahead and say, let's use some destructuring here. We're going to look for a method called generate user, all right, and this is going to be coming from our what? Our user what? Controller. Does that make sense? So that so we're saying that when we call our, when we have an instance of our user controller, it has a function definition called generate, right? Generate user. And that's the function we're passing to the route forward slash users. That's all this means. All right, that's all this. That's the meaning of all this. So I'm just going to go ahead now. Now let's go into our user controller and define this function. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and it's also quite simple. All right, so here you remember we needed a user object. So yeah, I can leave that there. That's no problem. Or I can just go ahead. Well, let's just leave that there by defining what's going to be in there. So this is how I do it. Next week I'll show you another how do you call it? Another um, I'll show you another module that we use for debugging since we are developing. All right, and then we're going to use that. So here I'm going to go ahead. At this point, I don't think I need anything yet. All right, if I needed to use any module, I can require all those modules. So we're fine with that. So we can leave this here. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to go ahead and then create my function. So remember, this is going to be the controller. Okay, so I can say function controller. All right, And this is what the controller does. Now, what's within the controller? So now I am going to create, right? I'm going to create that get generate user data method. So I'm going to use the function. So within this controller, I'm going to create all the functions I need, that are connected to the user or anything with a user route. So let's go ahead and do the function. We'll call it this generate user. And don't forget that because it's a request, all right, we need to make sure that our function is able to read the request and also be able to generate the response, because this is the definition. This is the business logic for that route, all right? Don't so understand that. Now, so this function, I want it to be an async function. So I use technically like I try to use what you might want to call like an iffy or something. So we say you put it in bracket, you put an I, you put a nose, and you put another I. So that's like what they say, So where you have here, I can go. Let me actually, close this. So where I can actually go ahead and say this an async function, and I can just call it generate. All right, it doesn't take any parameters, and that's just about it. And then in here, I'm going to define, what I want to do. So I can say that in here, I can now cut this and go ahead and say let user, let's just say user equals this, let's keep this as a reference because we need to pass a few things out. Now, good. Now, you realize that now we are using Faker in here, right? We're using Faker in here, so which means that we need to require Faker. So now in index doesn't need Faker anymore because it's not being used here. So let's cut this out. So we are refactoring the code. So let's go to the user controller, and at the top here, let's say now we need Faker. So I can use Faker now to generate these things and not have an error. All right. So that's what I'm doing. So basically in here, I can do technically anything I want to do. I didn't even need to make this an async, all right? So in fact, we don't have any async thing happening here. So let's just, actually, you know what? Well, for the sake of it, let's just do it. So here, I can do a try catch, all right? And then I can just say console.log the error dot stack. All right, give me the error stack. But then we're going to try to do this. So this is what we're going to do. So it's quite simple. So we're going to say that. Um, so we have user. So let's just do this. Uh, so user dot. So this is user. All right. So let's just say, let's go up. We have what? First name. So let's say user dot first name is equal to, I'm going to use this. This doesn't return a promise, so I don't need to do anything with that. So I'm just going to say it's just fake dot name, all right, dot first name. That's just it. Okay, and then user dot last name. This should be equal to fake dot name dot last name. Right? We call this, and then user dot code will be fake dot random dot alphanumeric of 6 characters. Now, if this was returning a promise, let's go check if Faker returns a promise. I would have done this, okay? I would have said await this because I'm running it in an async. I would have also said await that, and I'll probably say await this, okay? And once I have all this, I can go ahead and now say that what response.json, okay, what are we passing? We can now pass what? The user. Okay, so that's like the definition of just this. So I know that now generate user has been created and it's accessible. But wait a minute, let's try this and see if this happens. Okay, let's see. npm run dev. If it's already running, we are okay. Yeah, it's already running. Okay, no, so it's not. So this is the problem. Now it says that what? Let's take it now. Let's look at this. So started from here, went blah 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 blah, go to index. All right. So and then it went all the way to route and index. So let's check where it's in. Control click. So it's saying that yeah, it started from here using this route. All right. And then went all the way up into here. And it says what? Requires a middleware function but got an object. So let's go here and see. So in here, so this is a, oh sorry, we're supposed to be here. Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? Where's that? There was one with a route. Yeah. So this is telling us that it's requiring what? A function, but we're just passing an object. That is all. That is because, okay, in our controller, right? In our controller, we didn't return this um, generate user function. So even though we are calling the user controller, it doesn't know of that function. All right. So let's fix it. Now, how do I fix it? There's a way to fix it. If you look at the general controller definition, okay, right here, we can go ahead and say, you know what? Let's return. What are we returning? The functions we want to return. And then this is one of them that we want to return. Generate user is a function we want to return. All right. So we do this. And once we know that this is what we want to return, now we need to make sure that we're exporting our module. So module.export. All right. What are we exporting? We're exporting this controller. All right. That's it. So because we're exporting this controller and the controller is returning this, anytime you import or you say, require blah blah blah, require let's say this controller, it's going to give you access to this. All right. So let's save this again and see if it's going to build. Well, we still have a little error here. Let's see. So generate. It says what? Blah 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 blah. Okay, what's that? Requires a middle function but got a get type of a function. Yes, we know that. Let's see. Let me just make this a regular that. And let's save this again. Let's go through. Let's go through. No, hold on. So let's go through this again. Let's fix this. Okay, so we have the only thing we need here is faker, and then we have our function controller. That is what we are sending out, and we have our generate function that has the request and the response. We're doing it as an async, and we are trying that, and this should work out. And oh, okay, yeah, so when that happens, yep, we close this, and then we, okay, let's see this just a sec. Nope. Okay, there we go. Yep, and then we went ahead to return the method, and then we exported the controller. Yeah, and then we exported the controller right here. Okay. Okay, let me stop this. And then let's run this again. Let's see. Okay, so let's debug. Now we're saying that blah 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 blah. Where did it start from? Crash, waiting for file change before starting. Yep. So require router the use requires a middleware, and then we got an object. Okay, so let's go ahead. So here we have this route. Okay, let's see user route. So we have the route. That is correct. This came in. So let's go check the route out. So let's check. So in the route, we are requiring express because we need that. And then we yeah. So this is why it's not working. So in here as well, I need to make sure I am returning the route. Okay, I need to make sure I'm returning all my routes. So it's the same thing. I need to return what is that? I need to return what? The user router. Yeah, I need to make sure I'm returning that because that is what has, the definition for pretty much everything. That's it. That's the router. So I need to return the router and then I need to, export the router that I'm using. So module.export, right? And we are, yeah, our route. And this is the route object, this route, because this is going to contain all the routes. So we're exporting the route and we're making sure that we are returning these functions and making them accessible. So let's save this and see. Yeah, so as you can see, our application is now running on port 3000. So let's go back to this and refresh with the same route and see what we get. Row, 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 row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life. Okay, so let's do this. Let's try this. I would be right back. Yep, we're back. Okay, so let's go check out our routes just to make sure we are on course. So this is working. Now let's see. So if we came here, I'm thinking there is something here. So I'm going to take out this async. All right. I think this was because this it's not an async um, function. So let's save this. Run. Let's go back to ensure this is working, and then if we do user, it's still running. So let's see this. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Let's make sure that so we have this set, we are fine. It calls the user route. User routes. There's a user router here. We have the okay. We are exporting this. We are actually sorry, we're returning the user route, but exporting the router, which is yeah the top of it. So that's accessible, and this is supposed to come from user controller generate user. So we go to user controller, we find generate user. This is it. Adjust this, set this, and okay. So I'm going to stop this. And now I'm going to put this here. And this will give me the opportunity to show you how to debug from within Visual Studio when you're building a Node application. So I'm going to go to the debug tab here and I'll just run this. Now I'm using a Node application. All right. And yep, the port is running on 3000. So now if I go to 3000, it's running, right? So now let's do this. I have a breakpoint there. So if I say I'm going to slash user is waiting for localhost. Let's see if it hits it. If it hits it, we'll know it's working. So it looks like it's not hitting it. Because it's not hitting it, that's why we're not seeing it. Because ideally, if we come here, okay, if I put a breakpoint here as well. Oh, let me put it here. If it's a breakpoint here and we go back to our application and then we do this, this is correct. Now when we do this, it's not. So let's check out what's happening. Is it user or users? Yes, this is the route. User. So let's see if it is hitting this. Is it? Is it? Is it? Nope, it didn't hit that. What's it saying? No, 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 no. We're not extracting any function in the public scope. So here we go. Okay, let me try this and see if that hits it. Okay. Now let me actually stop this and make sure the breakpoints are set there. And then let's run this. Oh, okay. Node.js, inspecting it, and application. Okay, so there you go. So it got here. Let's go ahead and see. Okay, so the app is listening. So we have the app running. All right. So the app is running. So now if I try to do this, let's see if it hits it again. Omnipost, yeah, that's an unknown word. We understand that. So let's try this. User. Let's see. Let's go to our controller. Our controller seems fine. Let's go. Let's close this and let's move this here. Let's go to our route. So, yep, that's our route. Let's see. Yep, so this is our route. We have that. We created a route object. Okay, and then we had a controller. Yep, we had a user controller here, and we're getting a function from that. Let me do this. Actually, let me stop this, close this, yeah, and then put this side by side, and actually, yeah, so I have my controller, I have my route here. Okay, so we're gonna do a little debugging. Let's see. So this is our route. Yes, we have our router express, we have our router created. There's the route, which is the application, which we are also exporting. Mhm. Okay, okay. That could explain it. Let's see if we brought this within our router. Even though I feel it's already there, this shouldn't have been a problem. But let me put it in here and see the scopes. Okay, so we have this in there, and then we can see our router. Where's our user route? We added a route here. Okay, so we do this, and this is a get, and we are calling generate. And once we are done, we are returning that. We're returning our router, and we're exporting the entire one. So in the controller as well, we're making sure we're exporting the controller, and we're also returning the methods. We're returning the methods. Yeah, we're not doing anything async, so that shouldn't be a problem. So that's our controller. We have a first function. Let me actually separate it. So we have a first function that's generate user. That that is an iffy. That is an iffy. And then we return that function and the controller. Yeah, so this should be fine. All right. So let's try this again. We need to make sure that uh, we need to make sure our user route is working perfectly. If it doesn't return searching connection refused. How can you refuse my connection? Okay, so this is fine. Okay, just out of curiosity, let me do this. I'm going to go to the route, and then I will say um, generate. It's just out of curiosity. I want to see something. Okay, so from index, that's going to be slash user slash generate. So let's do this slash user slash generate. Okay, let's see if that hosted. Nope. Okay, so there is a routing problem. So now let's figure it out. Let's save this. So this is a get. Yeah, we're calling it with a get. We are getting that information, and then we're returning it. Okay, let me go back to debug. And you know what? Let me add a configuration. It's Node.js. And then oh, forget about that. Okay. Yeah, we'll go. We're fine with this. And then where are we? 3000 is working well. User is stuck. Oh, waiting for cache. We don't want anything from cache. Okay, hold on. Let's see this. Let me go ahead and stop this from running. Okay, let's go to the debug and let's see something. Just let me go to the user controller. Pa, 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 bum. Okay, let me put this here and see where that is coming from. So let's go here. That's my confirmation. Sorry, my configuration. Why did I say confirmation? Let's do this. Okay, and let's run this Node.js. And then, yeah, run this, run this. I don't need this again. And let's go here to Node. And let's just start with this so that's still running. There's nothing here. Slash user. And this is supposed to give us some info here. Why is that not happening? What have I not enabled? Yeah, that's restarted. What are we missing? This is fine, this is fine. The route is fine actually. So we have this route coming in from, yeah, routes. Yeah, and the user routes. That's correct. We have that. Okay, let's see. Let me actually stop this. Yeah, let me actually stop this from running because this sounds a bit strange. Okay, and then let me go here. Sorry, let me go here and try to run it again in Node and see if it attaches because there's two partial. Partial. Okay, so we can delete this, delete this, delete this, delete this. Okay, we stopped the partial instance, so we'll have to rerun that again. So let's stop this and just be sure that we don't have anything going. Cool. Now let's run this again. This is Node.js. Create a configuration file to run, but okay, it's let's see what the output says. Problems. There are no problems about console running on port 3000. So, well, let's try this again. I don't know where I was trying to go to, but so let's go ahead and inspect. Let's see what's happening. Let's refresh this. So it says request localhost 3000 slash user, no referral when downgraded. Gzip, deflate. What are we doing? This is the headers. Request header. Well, this is nothing. It's just plain old. Let's look at the response. Yep, there's nothing. It's not even hitting it. Okay. So let me try something else. Let me change this to users and see if it tells me. Yeah, so it tells me it cannot get users, which means that route doesn't exist. So, but if we do user, that route actually exists, but it's in the pending state, which is probably because I have, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Actually, you know what? Let me do this and pa 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 pa. Get get. Okay, you know what? Let me stop this. This is going to make it a lot easier for us. So let's stop this. Let's come here and let me look at the index. Let me look at the changes that has happened to the index. Okay, that should have. Let's see. View compare against workspace file. Yes. Where was it changed? This was moved and this was moved. Okay. Um. Mm, mm, mm. Let's see. Show file in history view. So let's see. Let's see. Over a week ago, let's open this up and see. Azure Rocks, that's not it. Uncommitted changes. Now saving ticket and the route. Uh, let's see. Okay, let me see. Hmm. I'm beginning. Okay, let's do this. Request.send. Response.send. User dot. Oh, so it's now that my configuration is trying to run. This is crazy. There's something holding my Visual Studio hostage. Okay, let's go here. Let's run this again, and let's try this again. So localhost 3000, that is fine, slash user. Is it hitting it now? Yep, yep. No, it's not hitting it. So let's restart this. Okay, so user controller, this is here. Port 3000. Let's go to port 3000. And this is fine. And then let's go to user. Okay, let's do this. Let's figure it out. Let's look at the. Actually, let me just no, that. Let me actually expand this because yeah, let's use this as a whole different view. Yeah, let's go to the network and let's try this again. So let's look at this. It's just saying this is the request. Yes, yes. Let's do all. Okay, so seems to have gone. It's just not for some reason hitting it. Okay, let's debug this. Let's debug this. Oh. We don't need this here. That could be the hostage situation we have. That would be really terrible, man. And we'd have been beating ourselves to that if. So let's rerun this. Actually, let's stop this. Okay. And just go to launch the program. That's it. There's a breakpoint here. So ideally, yeah, so let's go here and check it out. So this is working. And it's not hitting it. Okay, so let's see if I just put a breakpoint here and omit this. So let's stop this. Let me put a breakpoint here. Okay, and let's run this again and see what happens. And here we go to localhost 3000. That works fine. Okay, and then we try to go to user slash So it tells us it's pending. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Great. It hit it. It hit it now. So let's go in there. Returns a generate, as you can see. And then it comes into the function, calls that, returns it. We have the user route. We run this, we run that, and we go back here. And oh, is it still holding on to it? It's still holding it hostage. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to stop this. Do I have any other? Yeah, I don't have anything there again. So let's just rerun this again and let's see. Okay, and let's just do this. Okay, there we go. Let's wait for the magic. Oh, now I'm just saying you should return this. So let me actually put a breakpoint here and let's restart this again. Yeah. Okay. So when we come back here and we refresh, no, let's close this. This debugging is looking a bit fishy for me today. So I'm just going to go ahead. Let's stop this. Okay. And I'll just put a breakpoint here because I'm expecting you to send this back to the user. So let's just do this and then let's launch the program. And then let's go to our browser and see if we can do this. Localhost 3000, that's fine. Okay, okay. So it's not hitting it here for us. So which means it's not getting in the. Okay, let's go to the route and see what happens here. Let's rerun this again. Yeah, we're just trying to debug. Okay, so there we go. It comes in, so it's able to find the route. Okay, and it tells it to use this route. Let's see if it returns the user route. There's a closure here. What do we have? Yeah, we have the name route. What do we have? Prototypes. Yeah, okay. Okay, so it goes in here. Yeah, this is just one of those. Yeah, now we're getting into, more high, too much into that, but hopefully that comes out of. Okay, come out, come out, come out. Let's go back to where we came from. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, so this is it. It has a generate user, okay? And then actually, let me step into this. I want to ensure that it's actually hitting. Okay, scopes. Okay. Yeah, figure the local. Okay, the address, because it's calling that, so that's fine. We're returning that. It's just crazy. Live coding. That's very awesome. So, well, that seemed to have run. Oh, don't disable this. Okay. Let's run this again. It hits it. Yeah, we know. Thank you. It comes here. Let's step inside this one. Oh, okay. So it came into it and immediately ran into the return. Yeah. So it's okay. Hmm. And then what happened? And then it gave it to you, and then it returned it. User route that has a name route. There's no parameter. The prototype is a constructor. And then what happened? We went in there and we didn't come back. Let's go in there again. So now, so we agree that the route is working. It picks the route. That's fair. We hit this particular route. Okay, so this is the user route. So it means we're able to get into the user route. We're getting into the user route. We are hitting, okay, we actually hitting this. We are hitting the route that we need, but it's just skipping that. What could be wrong? Let's see. Yes, and generate, we are getting generate channel from the user controller. Okay, let's see. Let's check this out. Yeah, we're getting that from the controller. So this is just me in debug mode. So, buh, buh, buh. Yep. So here, we know that we need to get here. Yeah, we know our route. Yeah, so this is our function with a router, and yeah, everything seems fine. And then our user route, we're creating, yeah, it's a user route. We're creating a route, and we called it, when you enter this as a get, and we are calling the generate, which is actually here, coming from the user controller. And when we are done, we actually return the user router and then export the router. Okay, let me just change this to this. Maybe there's some form of conflict going on. So and then yeah, so that's it. Return that, and then let's export this. Okay, that's good. So now I know that it hits here. Let's just go home. That's fine. Let's stop this. Okay, so I know my route is fine. Then we come to my controller. So with the controller, this is a controller, we don't have anything in there. And then we have a function that's going to generate it. Well, if I don't want to do it anything like async, I don't technically need that. But anyways, let's see. So I think it's not picking my response, so it doesn't know. So the function generates user. Hold on, hold on. So this is strange. So this function, so this here and this function generate has access to the request and response object. All right, and this. What if I don't want it to be an iffy? So, okay, let's just assume that we just want it to be normal. So we have this. We try to do this. And then, once that is closed, once that function is closed, okay, cool. Cool, 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 cool. Return, what are we returning? By just returning this object. Okay, and then we can go ahead. Yeah, sorry, this is just me talking to myself, trying to figure out, why we're having um, this particular issue right now. So, hmm. Let's save this again and let's launch the program. I want to try this again. It's not hitting it. So which means, is it that it's not getting in here? Hold on, let's see. Let's put a breakpoint here. Let's put a breakpoint here and let's restart this. Okay, so at least it's hitting this. And it's returning that and it's hitting this. Okay. Okay, so we're using that, we're using the router. It gets this, it gets that. Okay, so it's just like setting it up. Okay, so now the application is running. Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Now we are getting somewhere. So it jumped straight into the return. So if it's supposed to be an iffy, then hmm, yeah, if it's supposed to be an iffy, then yeah. What? Really? Connection was reset? Okay, let's close this and let's open a new one. This is fine. Oh, sorry. Let's go. Yeah, it's stuck in there. So we know that it's jumping straight into here. It's not getting in here. So my final theory would be, you know what? Let's not do anything async. Let's just let's just do this. Let's try this. Okay. Oh no. Yep. So let's just try this. Stop this. Let's save our work and launch this again in the debugger. So this is still working. And this is not. Okay, so it's way over an hour. I'm going to stop the stream, but I'm going to fix this. And in next week's episode, I'll show you. I'm just trying to concentrate and fix this without having to stream. So next week, I will be very, I'll be very happy to share with you what I was finding. So I'm going to spend some time to debug this issue, and then when we come back next week, I will explain why. Till then, it has been a pleasure with another episode of Demystify.